What is up, PK fam? And today I got a tutorial for you on the 360 back handspring. FYI, in the making of this video, I was sick, so I may or may not sound like a chipmunk. Please forgive me. So let's continue with the video. So let's get some examples, and then let's get to it. Okay, so before you try this move, there are, as always, progressions. The first progression, obviously, a back handspring. If you can't back handspring and you tried a 360 back handspring, learn regular back handspring. I don't have a tutorial on it because I never do regular back handsprings, but there are a ton of tutorials on YouTube on back handsprings, so just look up a different tutorial. The other two moves that I think are less known but will help you a lot more, well, just as much as a back handspring, is an A-twist Gumby, so which is this, and a Arabian, which is this. Now, it might be hard to tell how those two moves could really help a 360 back handspring, but that's what this tutorial is for. So let's get started with it, the technique. We're gonna start like this, just like as if we're going to do any type of backward motion, like a backflip, back handspring, anything like that. You can have your arms like this, just at your sides, whichever you're comfortable with. You're gonna swing them as far back as you can without leaning your chest forward, so like a regular backflip. And then once you bring your arms as far back as you can, without leaning your chest forward, as I said before, you're gonna swing them up and then do your 180 into almost your front flip position. So you're basically doing the Arabian from what I'm talking about. So here, 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 and then you're almost going into your Arabian, but not fully tucking. Obviously, that's where the Arabian tutorial will help you. Now, by almost tucking your Arabian slash front flip tuck position, by almost tucking it, not completely tucking it, you should be almost upside down. Now, once you're upside down, and only once you're upside down, that's when you're gonna spot the ground. You're going to open up your body, so away from this slightly tucked position and then into this position, where you're going to go into your A-twist Gumby type movement. Now, the arm placement is what gets a lot of people. So we're gonna say you did the whole motion, you're doing your Arabian, you're in that tuck position, and then now you're at the point where you need to reach for the ground. So if we get closer to the ground here, what it's basically gonna be is like, if you're twisting to the left, you're gonna reach your right hand to the left and your left hand across. So it's gonna make an X, so like that. And then from there, if you get the timing correctly, that's where your body, your feet will just kind of whip to the ground because, you know, that's how 360 back handspring or any back handspring should feel like. So, like this. Now, the last thing about the technique that I would say for this move is that you don't necessarily need to get your hands to do a full 360, so you don't need to reach over and then do a full 360 so that your hands are facing back where they started, but you want your hands to at least do more than a half twist. So a half twist would be your hands pointing the opposite direction. So doing slightly more would be going to here if you're twisting to your left. That will ensure that your hands don't stop you from doing your other last half twist. That helps me control my twisting so that I land upright and balanced. So yeah, that's the last tip for this technique. Hand placement doesn't need to be a full 360, but should be more than halfway. Now, to end part one of this tutorial explaining the technique, let's do a last slow motion 360 back handspring. Now, like all moves, the reason that people don't land the 360 back handspring isn't specifically because the move is just hard. It's just that there's more areas for you to mess up in this move, which leads us to the second part of this tutorial, common things people do wrong and how to correct it. Now, the first thing that people do wrong, and like probably the most common thing, like so many people do this, like I did it, so yeah, is spotting the ground too early. So as I said in the technique part of this tutorial, you want to set up really, really high and then do your front flip, Arabian type motion. And then only once you start flipping, that's when you spot the ground. What a lot of people do is spot the ground before they even take off. So they go like this. So if you look at my face, where my eyes are pointing, they go about here. And what this makes them do is do that half twist way too early, to the point that they can't get any flip and they can't get any height. So what that looks like is this. If you noticed on that one, I didn't jump up at all, and I twisted so early that I didn't let my hips go above my head. I didn't flip enough. Now, an example of setting up well and only spotting the ground once you actually do the flip, the Arabian type motion, is this. If you noticed, my hips were, I was just a lot higher in general. My hips were a lot higher that I basically almost went into a handstand, which is actually a good motion. And the only reason I didn't do that last 180 and finish it as a 360 back handspring is because I didn't do the A-twist Gumby motion. Now, the second most common thing that people do wrong, I would say, is doing the A-twist Gumby wrong. So what that looks like is you set really high, you do the first half twist really well, you're right here, but then you just place your hands down as if you're doing a handstand. So just like this. You don't do that X motion. That X motion is basically what will give you the flip, or I mean the last 180, the last half twist. So it basically just takes practice. If you aren't comfortable with doing this or going like that, then I recommend drilling A-twist Gumby. A-twist Gumbies, again, is this move. You go right here. Now the last thing that's very hard to kind of identify, that kind of combines those two common things, is when you place your hands down. So we're starting from the squatting position so I can show you my hand placement on this. So we're gonna pretend I did the Arabian motion, I did the full half twist, and then I'm right here. Now a trick I do is actually putting down my opposite hand of my twisting. So if I'm twisting to my left, I'll place my right hand down first and then try to reach my left hand down a little bit later so that I can finish a bit more of the twist with my hand. So what that looks like is, instead of going like both hands at the same time right here, because that's kind of hard, I'm going to do the half twist and then put my right hand down since the right side of my body is closer to the ground, and then try to inch my left arm across that, again making that X motion. Some would call this a cheat, but hey, we're free runners, we don't need to be perfect. Yeah, and that's all of the common things that I can think of that people do wrong. So if like you tried identifying all the things you're doing wrong but you're still having trouble with this move, then feel free to direct message me on any of my social media. Usernames will be in the description below. So now that part 2, common things that people did wrong, is over with, let's go to part 3, which is how to overcome the fear of the move. So this move is honestly really scary to learn when you don't really know how it's gonna feel or where you are gonna be in the air, or if you're gonna do the full half. There's just a lot of things that make this move scary. But as I always say, the way to make moves less scary is to learn the progressions, take baby steps. Learn the Arabian, learn a back handspring, learn A-twist Gumby, learn all of those stuff. And then once you put them together, you'll feel like, hey, this move, it feels kind of familiar since I've learned all of the moves that I need to learn before. But as always, there's the other side of progressions, which is progressing your environment, which is going into a foam pit if you want to try to do a back handspring motion into a foam pit, and then into a mat, and then onto spring floor, and then the grass, and then maybe onto concrete. I haven't even done this move on concrete yet because I like my wrists. But yeah, that's my tips on overcoming the fear of this move. So that's basically it for this tutorial, but before we end it off, let's end it with another quick visual overview. So, we're going to start with our arms in front of us, swing them behind us as much as we can without leaning our chest forward too much. Then we're going to swing them up as if we're doing a backflip, because we're doing a backflip variation, an Arabian. We're going to go into the Arabian motion, and then once we spot the ground, we're going to extend our legs, cross our arms, and then that should finish our last half of the 360 back handspring. Yes, okay. If you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed and it helped you, please remember to like, share, subscribe, and ring that notification bell button. You should also ring the notification bell button to get notified for other tutorials like this. Also, you should comment other moves you would like me to do a tutorial on. I'm thinking about 360 dive roll. Would you guys want a tutorial on that? Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. PK Person out.